Have you ever felt overlooked in social situations or worried that you're simply not interesting enough to capture someone else's attention? As an introvert, you might find yourself quietly observing conversations, feeling hesitant to jump in or speak up. You might assume others perceive you as distant, aloof, or even uninterested. But what if the truth was completely different? What if you had unique strengths as an introvert that could help you build meaningful connections and thrive socially without changing who you are at your core? Today, we're going to explore how introverts can genuinely succeed socially. We'll look at how you can leverage your introverted traits like thoughtfulness, deep listening, and authenticity to make lasting connections. The goal here isn't to turn you into an extrovert. Instead, it's about helping you embrace your natural qualities and use them effectively in social settings. First, let's clear something up. Being introverted doesn't mean you dislike people or want to avoid all social interaction. It simply means that social situations tend to draw from your energy reserves rather than replenish them. After a busy conversation or a large event, you might need time alone to recharge and process. This is in contrast to extroverts who often feel energized and revitalized by social engagement. Neither approach is better or worse, they're just different ways of managing stimulation and energy. Once you understand that your quieter nature isn't a flaw but a natural part of how you recharge, you can begin to appreciate the strengths that come with it. One of the most powerful of these strengths is your ability to listen, not just passively, but actively and attentively. Deep listening doesn't require loudness or charisma, it requires presence. When you really tune into what someone else is saying, ask questions that show genuine curiosity, and give them your full attention, you create a space where they feel seen and valued. This kind of attention is rare. Many people spend conversations waiting for their turn to speak, or thinking about what they'll say next. But as an introvert, you're more likely to give someone your undivided focus, and that alone can be incredibly disarming in the best way. It makes others feel safe to open up, which naturally deepens connection. Try to shift your mindset about conversations. You don't need to be entertaining, quick-witted, or always know the right thing to say. You're not performing. Instead, approach interactions like you're uncovering something interesting about the world through another person's perspective. Ask open-ended questions like, "What made you interested in that?" Or, "Has anything surprised you lately about your work or hobbies?" These kinds of questions show that you're not just listening, you're genuinely interested, which draws people in more than forced small talk ever could. Another advantage introverts have is the tendency toward thoughtful observation. Introverts often notice details others miss, which can lead to more insightful interactions. Pay attention to what people care about, their interests, and subtle cues in their body language. When you later reference something specific they've mentioned, it shows you've truly paid attention. People appreciate this kind of thoughtful acknowledgement as it signals genuine care and interest. But what if you feel anxious or awkward entering conversations in the first place? One practical strategy is what psychologists call exposure. Gradually pushing yourself into slightly uncomfortable social scenarios helps your brain realize these situations are manageable. Start small, perhaps by initiating a short conversation with a cashier, complimenting someone genuinely, or attending a group event with a trusted friend who understands your introverted nature. Each successful interaction builds confidence, making future social engagements less intimidating. You can also prepare in advance to ease social anxiety. Before attending an event, think of a few conversation starters or questions. Having these mentally prepared can greatly reduce the anxiety of starting conversations spontaneously. For example, how do you know the host? Or, what do you enjoy most about your job? Can smoothly open interactions. Additionally, remember to recharge your social energy intentionally. Introverts often need solitude or quiet downtime to restore their energy after interactions. Plan this recovery time into your schedule. Knowing you'll soon have a peaceful break can make social engagements feel less draining and more manageable. It's also important to acknowledge that being introverted, while full of strengths, can come with certain limitations if not managed, especially when it comes to stepping into new experiences. One of the most common tendencies among introverts is to default to saying no to activities or opportunities that fall outside their comfort zone. Not because they aren't capable, but because those experiences often seem draining, overly stimulating, or simply unnecessary in the moment. This can lead to a pattern of quietly opting out. Maybe you've told yourself, That event probably isn't worth going to, or I wouldn't enjoy that club or group anyway. And sometimes that's true. Not every opportunity is a good fit. But other times, that instinct to retreat is more about convenience than clarity. It's easier to pass on the unknown, especially when your energy is already taxed from daily life. Over time, though, this pattern can lead to missed connections, unexplored interests, and a narrower range of experiences. For example, many introverted students who complete their coursework online or in more independent settings may find it easy to stay in their own bubble. Without the natural push of in-person interaction, they might not go out of their way to build relationships with professors or peers. It may not seem important at the time, but then graduation comes, and they realize they need letters of recommendation or professional references. That's when it becomes clear how many quiet opportunities were missed, not out of laziness, but because they didn't feel urgent or comfortable in the moment. It's not about blaming yourself for these choices. It's about recognizing that your natural preferences, like enjoying solitude or needing time to recharge, can sometimes steer you away from things that are actually good for your growth. The key is to learn how to differentiate between what's truly not aligned with your values and what you're avoiding, simply because it's unfamiliar or mildly uncomfortable. One way to push back against this pattern is to adopt a mindset of selective discomfort. Rather than trying to say yes to everything, commit to occasionally saying yes to the things that stretch you just enough. Attend a workshop even if you don't know anyone there. Volunteer for a project that requires more collaboration than you're used to. Reach out to someone you admire and ask a question, even if it feels awkward. These aren't massive leaps, but over time they build momentum and widen the range of experiences you feel capable of navigating. The goal isn't to change your personality. It's to build a bridge between who you naturally are and the person you're capable of becoming. Someone who honors their need for solitude while still showing up for opportunities that foster growth and connection. One common challenge introverts face is the way their quietness is interpreted by others. When you naturally speak less or take longer to warm up in conversations, it's easy for others to misread that behavior. They might assume you're disinterested, closed off, or even aloof, not because you've done anything wrong, but simply because you're not projecting the usual social cues people expect in group settings. And once that impression is formed, it can become harder to build rapport, even when you genuinely want to connect. This misunderstanding can create a frustrating cycle. You're quiet because that's how you process the world, but people misinterpret your silence, respond with distance, and then you end up feeling even more disconnected. Over time, this can lead to social self-doubt, a nagging worry that maybe you're not interesting or that people simply don't want to engage with you. But often the real issue isn't a lack of value in what you bring to the table. It's that your signals are being misread. The good news is that you don't need to become more talkative or force yourself into unnatural levels of expressiveness to change this. Instead, small, intentional, nonverbal cues can go a long way in reshaping how people perceive your presence. Things like smiling gently when you enter a room, making occasional eye contact while someone is speaking, or nodding as they explain something. These subtle behaviors send a clear message that you're engaged, interested, and emotionally present. Body language is a powerful communicator. You can use posture and positioning to show approachability. Angling your body slightly toward the person you're talking to, relaxing your shoulders, and keeping your arms uncrossed are simple adjustments that make you seem more open. Even if you're speaking very little, these cues demonstrate warmth and attentiveness in a way that people immediately pick up on. Vocal tone and pacing also matter. You don't need to speak loudly or rapidly to be compelling. In fact, many introverts excel when they speak calmly and deliberately. But adding inflection to your voice and showing a hint of enthusiasm when you're sharing something can help avoid the impression that you're bored or disengaged. If you're unsure how others perceive you, it can be helpful to check in with someone you trust. Ask how you come across in group settings or whether your signals are being interpreted the way you intend. Getting feedback like this can help you identify blind spots and adjust without having to guess. Ultimately, it's not about performing or putting on a persona. It's about making sure the positive intentions you already have, your interest, your care, your desire to connect, are being clearly communicated. With just a few adjustments, you can shift how others experience your presence while still remaining entirely yourself. Lastly, authenticity is perhaps your most significant advantage. People genuinely appreciate those who are real, honest, and true to themselves. As an introvert, you naturally possess depth, sincerity, and introspection. Don't feel pressured to act more outgoing than you are. Instead, embrace your calm confidence. Authenticity resonates deeply and fosters genuine connections, far more than attempting to project a personality that isn't truly yours. In short, succeeding socially as an introvert isn't about changing who you are. It's about embracing and using your inherent strengths effectively. By listening actively, observing thoughtfully, gradually facing social fears, preparing in advance, signaling openness non-verbally, and valuing authenticity, you'll build meaningful, lasting relationships without compromising your introverted nature. Remember, the goal isn't to become someone you're not, but to fully become who you already are. Someone capable of creating profound, authentic connections in your own unique way. Thanks for watching. Now go out and confidently engage with the world on your terms.